There is a truth about addiction most people never hear. A secret that can open the door to freedom if you are willing to see it. But you will only find it if you allow yourself to look closer. Missing it means staying trapped in the same endless cycle. You might not realize how much of your life is shaped by invisible battles. Addiction is not only about cigarettes, alcohol, food, or late-night scrolling on your phone. It is an ancient struggle that takes place inside every human being. A fight between what you crave and what you truly need, between comfort and courage, between the self you show and the shadow you hide. Carl Jung did not see addiction as weakness. He saw it as a symptom, a signal from the soul trying to speak. He once wrote, "People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls." This is not laziness or a lack of discipline. It is the deep fear of meeting your real self in the dark. Picture the moment. You are alone in your room. The house is silent. Something inside you stirs, a small pull toward relief, a whisper that promises to make the pain fade. You know it will not last. Yet for a moment you long for escape, so you light the cigarette. You open the app. You pour the drink. You lose yourself in a fragile comfort, telling yourself you will stop tomorrow. But after the high there comes the crash, the shame, the quiet promise never to repeat it again. And the haunting question remains, why do I keep doing this even though I know how it ends? Most people treat cravings like enemies. They fight them, deny them, hide them. But Jung's philosophy turns the idea upside down. He believed that every urge is a messenger, a piece of your mind trying to tell you the truth your conscious self refuses to acknowledge. Think about it. If you were whole, content, and at peace, what would there be to numb? What reason would you have to escape? Cravings are the language of the soul's pain. Addiction is never only about chemicals or habits. It is about what is missing from your life. It is not a war of willpower. It is a puzzle of meaning. And this is why so many fail. They focus only on self-control but never stop to ask, what is this craving trying to reveal? What part of me have I locked away, hoping it would disappear? In Jung's psychology, the shadow is everything you deny, everything you hide, everything you are afraid to admit even to yourself. The more you bury the shadow, the more powerful it becomes. Addiction is the shadow's favorite disguise. It comes dressed as comfort, but it feeds on your silence. You tell yourself, I just want to relax. I just want to stop thinking for a while. But underneath, the shadow whispers, you are not enough. You are alone. You will never change. Every addiction is a mask for unspoken pain. Most people spend their lives rearranging the mask, never realizing that real transformation only begins when you dare to look beneath it. We live in a culture obsessed with control. Just say no. Be strong. But if that really worked, you would not still be struggling. Jung reminds us, the shadow is not defeated by force. It is transformed only through attention. Imagine pushing a beach ball underwater. The harder you press it down, the stronger it resists. This is how most people live, suppressing, denying, fighting. Eventually, the beach ball bursts back to the surface with greater force. You cannot white-knuckle your way through forever. The craving always returns. The real question is not how to suppress it, but how to understand it. And here is where things begin to shift. The next time you feel the urge, do not run and do not fight. Simply notice. Pause and ask, what am I really searching for right now? Is it comfort? Is it distraction? Is it love? This moment of awareness is the beginning of self-mastery. It is the point where you stop being the craving and start observing it. You might notice a story running in your head. Perhaps it is fear. Perhaps it is loneliness. Perhaps it is the quiet voice telling you that you will never be free. But by noticing, you create a small gap, a space where choice becomes possible. And that small gap is the seed of change. Most people never reach this point. They stay too busy, too numb, too afraid. They would rather remain in the dark than risk seeing what hides there. But by listening right now, you have already taken the first step. Curiosity itself is the first rebellion against the power of addiction. Jung believed every addiction and every shadow was not just an obstacle but an invitation. If you listen closely, each craving is asking, what have you refused to feel? What part of you longs to be heard, healed, or welcomed home? Healing does not begin by declaring war on yourself. It begins by making peace with your wounds, your hidden desires, and your forgotten dreams. Most people never do this. They fight, they fail, they blame, and they repeat. But those who dare to ask deeper questions find something more precious than relief. They find themselves. This path is not about a miracle cure. It is about holding up a mirror. A mirror that reveals the parts of yourself you have avoided. And if you can face them even for a moment, you begin to write a new story. Stay with this thought, because what comes next takes us deeper into the method Jung used to help people break free from endless cycles. At the end, you may discover the hidden truth that changes everything, if you are willing to see it. Jung described a state he called possession. It is when a force inside you takes control as though you are merely a passenger in your own body. You whisper to yourself, I don't want to do this. But your hands, your thoughts, your habits move anyway. You feel like a stranger inside your own skin. Think about the times you swore never again, only to return to the same ritual days or even hours later. It feels as though an invisible tide drags you back. The philosopher Epictetus once wrote, no person is free who is not master of themselves. But mastery, as Jung saw it, is not about wrestling the tide into submission. It is about learning to read the currents beneath the surface. Addiction is not just an action. It is a ritual, a script performed whenever you feel lost, lonely, or overwhelmed. And here lies the secret most never uncover. Every ritual carries meaning. Every habit is a clue. You do not crave the cigarette or the drink or the endless scroll without reason. Each urge is tied to a trigger, an event, a thought, a feeling that makes life feel unbearable or empty. Maybe it is the pressure of work. Maybe it is the silence that lingers before sleep. Maybe it is the sting of watching someone succeed while you feel left behind. The craving does not arrive as a command but as a comfort. It whispers, let's not feel this right now. Let's forget. Let's disappear. But what if you stopped running? What if, for once, you turned and faced the craving directly? Jung would encourage you to ask, why are you here? The answer might not be about the substance at all. It might be about loneliness. It might be about fear of not being enough. It might be about the echo of an old wound that never healed. Philosophy teaches us to keep asking questions even when the answers hurt. Psychology gives us the courage to sit with discomfort until it reveals what we need to know. You have heard 1,000 times that you should be disciplined, that you should use willpower. But here is the truth no one tells you. Willpower runs dry. It is a limited well. Every time you resist, you draw from it. And when you are tired, stressed, or overwhelmed, the well empties, and the old pattern floods back. Jung compared the unconscious to a vast ocean. Your conscious will is just a small boat floating on its surface. If you only row harder, you exhaust yourself without progress. But if you learn to read the waves, if you sense the storms before they rise, you can navigate with far less struggle. This is the real skill, learning to observe your patterns without judgment. To see the craving not as a failure but as information. Information about what is missing. Information about what your soul is truly asking for. Jung also believed in the power of names. What you can name, you can tame. The next time the urge appears, instead of tightening your grip, pause and name it. This is anxiety. This is loneliness. This is the part of me that wants comfort. It may sound small, even naive, but naming the feeling pulls it out of the shadows and into the light. And once you see it clearly, it holds less power over you. When you can say, I know why you are here, you begin to change the story. And here is where philosophy and psychology meet. The goal is not to destroy the craving. It is to integrate the lost part of yourself that uses the craving as a cry for help. Jung once wrote, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. To accept the craving not as your enemy but as the wounded voice within you is to take the first step toward real healing." How do you begin? You begin with honesty. When the urge comes, resist the temptation to distract yourself or to lash out at your own weakness. Instead, pause and ask, what am I avoiding? What pain have I been unwilling to feel? What hope did I bury long ago? You might uncover fear. You might feel sadness. You might awaken anger. And that is all right. Most people retreat at this point, telling themselves it is too much. But every time you face your shadow, you reclaim a fragment of your strength. You will not be free overnight, but each act of awareness loosens the chain a little more. Each moment of curiosity is a victory over the old script. Philosophy asks us to endure the discomfort of the unknown, trusting that new wisdom will arise. Jung's psychology extends an invitation to patience. Change does not happen in an instant. But each honest question, each pause of awareness, plants a seed for the future. As you learn not to run, not to numb, not to hide, a new voice begins to emerge. A wiser voice. It does not shout. It does not threaten. It simply says, I see you. I know you are hurting. But you no longer need to escape. You can stay. This is the dawn of self-trust. This is the beginning of individuation, as Jung called it, the journey of becoming whole. Not by cutting away the parts you despise, but by welcoming them back home. Most people will never experience this. They will chase relief for a lifetime, never learning the lesson hidden inside. But by choosing to stay, you are already walking a path few dare to travel. You may not feel free yet, and that is okay. Freedom is not a single moment. It is a process built from thousands of small acts of courage. 1,000 moments of turning toward pain instead of away. The journey continues. And in the next part, you will learn how to transform the raw energy of craving into fuel for growth, not self-destruction. This is where addiction becomes not your curse, but your teacher. You have made it this far, and that already marks you as different. Most people would have turned away long ago, frightened by discomfort or convinced that nothing could change. But you stayed. That choice alone carries meaning. It means you are not simply searching for relief. You are searching for transformation. Carl Jung did not believe in shortcuts. He believed in alchemy. To him, life was the process of turning lead into gold, not by discarding what was dark or heavy, but by melting it down, understanding it, and allowing awareness to change its form. Every craving, every urge is like a spark. It is raw energy filled with potential. Most people waste this energy by fighting it, running from it, numbing it, or drowning in shame for even feeling it. But what if you learn to use that spark instead of trying to extinguish it? The alchemists believed that poison could be turned into medicine if you knew the secret. Jung believed the same about addiction. Your craving, your compulsion, is the very material from which your new self can be forged. The pain you carry is not only a burden. It is also the fuel for growth. Transformation begins with a shift in attitude. Instead of asking, how do I get rid of this feeling? Ask, what can I learn from it? How can I use its energy? Because craving itself is energy. It is the mind's way of telling you that something is missing, that something within you longs to move. The next time you feel the urge, do not waste it. Channel it. If you are reaching for a cigarette, let that be your cue to pause and take a conscious breath. If you feel the pull of endless scrolling, use that moment to write a single honest sentence about what you are feeling. If you crave a drink, stand up and move your body even for a minute to remind yourself that you are alive. This is the difference between unconscious repetition and conscious transformation. You cannot always stop the urge from coming, but you can choose what to do with it. And every time you choose with awareness, you rewire the story you live by. Jung observed that people who escaped addiction rarely just quit. They replaced one ritual with another. They traded a destructive pattern for a meaningful one. The energy remained, but it was redirected. Think of your rituals. If you used to reach for your habit in moments of stress, try placing your feet firmly on the ground and feeling the weight of your body instead. If you numbed your mind before sleep, try journaling a truth you are most afraid to admit. If you long to run from discomfort, try leaning into it for 60 seconds. Naming it, breathing through it, letting yourself feel it fully. Small rituals done with awareness are the tools of transformation. They turn shadow into self. They turn craving into power. Jung believed the purpose of life was individuation, the process of becoming whole by integrating every part of yourself, especially the rejected, forgotten, or feared ones. Addiction shows you where your wounds are, but it also shows you where your greatest energy lies. The shadow is not your enemy. It is your guide to hidden potential. Every time you pause and face a craving, you reclaim a fragment of your power. You become less divided, more united, more yourself. And slowly, your identity begins to change. You are no longer the addict, the failure, or the one who cannot change. You become the observer, the chooser, the alchemist, someone who can hold pain, longing, and even fear, and still move forward with purpose. A new identity is born. You may wonder, how will I know if I am really changing? The answer is not found in dramatic victories. It is found in the quiet shifts. You notice that the voice of shame grows softer. You find you do not need to hide from yourself as much. You catch yourself pausing, reflecting, and choosing just once, then again, and again. Trust begins to grow. And trust builds itself one small act at a time. Most people measure change in clean streaks or grand moments. But Jung believed transformation is measured by your willingness to show up honestly for yourself, day after day. Even when it hurts. Even when it feels impossible. Especially then. And here lies the hidden reward, the one most people never expect. The journey through addiction is not just about quitting a habit. It is about building a new relationship with yourself. You begin to realize you are stronger than you thought, wiser than you believed, more capable of holding discomfort than you ever imagined. You stop seeing yourself as broken. You start seeing yourself as brave. Jung once wrote, "I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become." That is your truth now as well. By now, you know that freedom does not arrive as a lightning strike. It comes quietly, through 1,000 small choices made in awareness. Each craving faced, each pause embraced, each question asked plants a seed that changes you. But for those seeds to grow, you must learn how to nurture them. Addiction thrives in secrecy and repetition. Freedom flourishes in honesty and practice. The discipline of freedom is not about punishing yourself or demanding perfection. It is about returning to the practice again and again, no matter how many times you stumble. Jung believed that every shadow holds a key to wholeness. Every craving is a signal pointing you toward the parts of yourself that remain unhealed. When you hide, the shadow rules you. When you face it, you begin to reclaim your strength. This is why the smallest act of honesty matters. Writing down a thought you have avoided, pausing to name an emotion instead of running from it, taking a breath instead of lighting the match. Each act carves a new path in your mind, and repetition builds the road you will walk tomorrow. Philosophy reminds us that change is not comfort. The Stoic Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." Notice what he did not say. He did not promise you control over cravings, over the storms of life, or over the past. He said the power lies in how you respond. That is where freedom is born. You will fall. You will slip back into old patterns. And when you do, the voice of shame will try to convince you that all is lost. But shame is the shadow speaking in disguise. Its aim is to keep you silent. The truth is different. Each return to awareness is progress. Every time you notice the pattern instead of blindly obeying it, you have already won something the shadow cannot take away. This is why freedom is built on patience. Patience with the process, patience with yourself. Jung saw healing not as a single moment, but as a journey through many layers of the self. To walk that path requires compassion as much as courage. Ask yourself, what is the craving beneath the craving? Is it the longing to be seen? The ache for connection? The hunger for rest? Most addictions are failed attempts at love. Love for others and love for yourself. And the path to freedom is not to deny that longing, but to learn how to meet it in healthier, truer ways. Here is a practice. When the urge strikes, instead of rushing to silence it, imagine it as a messenger. Invite it to speak. Ask, what are you trying to tell me? What need lies underneath you? Then act with intention. If it is loneliness, reach out to someone who nourishes you. If it is exhaustion, give yourself the gift of rest. If it is fear, breathe through it and remind yourself that fear is not fatal. Every time you respond with awareness, you build trust in yourself. And trust is the foundation of freedom. Without trust, you live in doubt, waiting for the next fall. With trust, you can stumble and still know you will rise again. Over time, your identity shifts. You stop defining yourself by your habits. You begin to see yourself as someone who notices, who chooses, who grows. And that shift is more powerful than any streak of days or tally of victories. Do not underestimate the quiet power of persistence. Most people chase dramatic change and miss the subtle transformation unfolding inside them. The truth is, the shadow loses its grip not in one dramatic battle, but in countless small surrenders to awareness. Freedom is not about never craving again. It is about never letting the craving dictate your life. This is where philosophy and psychology align. Philosophy teaches resilience in the face of what we cannot control. Psychology teaches compassion for the parts of us we once rejected. Together, they guide us toward wholeness. Jung often reminded his students that individuation, the journey of becoming whole, is not about perfection. It is about integration. It is about weaving together the light and the dark, the strength and the weakness, the pain and the healing. When you can hold both without fear, you discover a new kind of freedom. It is not the freedom of never feeling the urge. It is the freedom of no longer being enslaved by it. It is the freedom of being able to stay, to feel, to choose. So remember this, freedom is not far away. It is already inside you, revealed in every small act of honesty, in every pause of awareness, in every moment you refuse to turn away from yourself. And as you continue this journey, you will find that the shadow you once feared becomes the guide you needed. By now you understand that freedom is not a finish line. It is not a medal you win or a single moment of triumph. It is a way of living, a relationship with yourself renewed each day. The work of healing does not end when the cravings grow quiet. It continues in the way you choose to live your ordinary hours. Addiction teaches you repetition, the ritual of reaching, numbing, hiding. To heal, you must build new rituals, not of escape but of presence. The habits you practice in small, daily moments become the foundation of the person you are becoming. Jung believed the self is not static. It is a process, always unfolding. He called this individuation, the slow work of integrating every part of who you are, even the parts you once feared. Addiction may have shown you the shadow, but transformation teaches you to weave that shadow into the fabric of your wholeness. This is why your ordinary choices matter. When you wake in the morning, pause before reaching for distraction. Take a breath. Ask yourself, what does my soul need right now? Perhaps it is clarity. Perhaps it is connection. Perhaps it is simply rest. Respond with one small, intentional act. These small acts accumulate, day after day, until they reshape your life. The philosopher Soren Kierkegaard wrote, "Anxiety is the dizziness of freedom. To be free is not to feel nothing. It is to stand in the open with all possibilities before you, and choose with courage." At first this feels overwhelming. But over time you learn to see that dizziness as proof of your own growth. Freedom may feel shaky, but it is real. In practical terms, this means building new structures of meaning. If addiction once consumed your evenings, fill that space with something that restores you. If you once reached for comfort in silence, create rituals of truth, journaling, walking, breathing. If your pain once drove you to isolate, practice connection with even one safe person. Each new ritual is a thread weaving your new story. Notice how your identity shifts in these practices. You are no longer the one defined by what you run from. You are becoming the one defined by what you create. This is not about denying the shadow, but about letting its energy fuel something new. Do not expect perfection. You will still feel cravings. You will still stumble. But the difference is in how you respond. Instead of collapsing into shame, you now know how to pause, to ask, to choose. And each time you return to awareness, you strengthen the foundation of trust within yourself. This trust is quiet but powerful. You begin to believe in your ability to handle discomfort. You begin to see yourself not as broken, but as brave. And this shift is what makes freedom sustainable. Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." That is the invitation before you now. Not to erase your past, not to deny your shadow, but to become whole, to walk forward carrying every part of yourself with dignity. Living the new story means remembering that every craving is still a teacher. Even when it returns, it does not have to be your enemy. It can remind you to pause, to ask, to choose again. Freedom is not the absence of struggle. It is the presence of awareness in the midst of it. So here is the final challenge. Every time the urge comes back, let it ring like a bell, a reminder to check in with yourself. Ask, what do I truly need right now? What am I hungry for beneath this craving? Give yourself one honest response: connection, truth, meaning, rest. And each time you do, you weaken the old pattern and strengthen the new. Addiction wants you to believe you are stuck forever. That is the lie. The truth is you are already changing every single day, and every small act of awareness is a victory. You do not need to be perfect. You only need to keep showing up. If you have walked with me through this journey, you have already done what most people avoid for a lifetime. You have faced your shadow. You have asked the hard questions. You have dared to stay. That alone marks the beginning of a new chapter in your life. Because as Jung knew, the freedom you seek was always waiting. Not outside you, not in the habits you chased, but deep within, hidden beneath the shadow. It was there in the craving, in the discomfort, in the fear you thought would break you. Now you see it for what it is: a guide, a teacher, a doorway to yourself. You will never let addiction rule you again. Not after this. Not after learning that the shadow is not your enemy but your ally, calling you home. Freedom is not a sudden escape. It is a steady unfolding, a lifelong practice of meeting yourself with honesty. The cravings may still come. The shadows may still whisper. But they no longer define you. You have learned to listen, to pause, to choose. And in that simple act, you have reclaimed your life. Most people spend their years running from discomfort. They chase distraction after distraction, never asking what pain drives them. They never stop long enough to see the truth behind their cravings. But you have walked into the very place they avoid. You have stepped into the silence, looked at the shadow, and discovered the self hiding there. Carl Jung once wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." This is the heart of the journey. What once felt like destiny, your endless patterns, your cycles of addiction, was never fate at all. It was the unconscious steering you in silence. And now, by bringing awareness, you have taken back the wheel. Do not mistake this for the end of struggle. The shadow does not disappear, but it no longer terrifies you. It has become part of you, a voice you can hear without obeying, and in that relationship lies real power. Think of how far you have come. From feeling like a prisoner in your own skin to becoming the observer, the chooser, the alchemist. From drowning in shame to discovering that every urge, every whisper of the shadow, can be transformed into guidance. This is not about perfection. It is about wholeness. The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche said, "One must still have chaos in oneself to be able to give birth to a dancing star." Your chaos has not destroyed you. It has carved you into someone wiser, stronger, more alive. The cravings, the shadows, the struggles, they were not barriers to your growth. They were the material from which your strength was born. And now you live with a different kind of freedom. Not the freedom of never feeling pain, but the freedom of knowing pain will not control you. Not the freedom of never craving, but the freedom of seeing each craving as a reminder to return to yourself. This is a quieter freedom, but it is more powerful than any quick escape. Each day you will keep practicing. You will pause. You will ask. You will listen. And each time you do, you weave another thread into the fabric of your new life. A life not ruled by shadows but guided by them. Not crushed by addiction but transformed through it. Jung also said, "I'm not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become." That is the gift you carry now. You are not bound to the past. You are not defined by your mistakes. You are not the label of addict or failure. You are the one who chooses. And choice, repeated with awareness, builds a life of freedom. So here, at the end of this journey, you stand at the beginning of another. The beginning of a life where the shadow is not an enemy but a teacher. Where cravings are not chains but signals. Where every moment of awareness is a step into wholeness. Hold on to this truth: you are not broken. You are becoming. And the freedom you have been searching for has always lived within you. Just beneath the shadow. Just inside the craving. Just beyond the fear. Now you know how to find it. Now you know how to live it.